In the dead of night, the creepiest things are bound to happen. So grab your flashlight and get comfortable as we let the darkness take control. Number 1. I was working hella late at a ski resort. It was about 11 o'clock and my shift ended at 12. I was working at the top, and the wind had been really strong that day and made some of the lights go out. For context, those are the big floodlights on the hill. Anyway, I'm sitting up there in the dank-ass shed freezing my arse off, and I haven't been to the toilet in about 7 hours since I'd started the job, and I'd only had the same 6 people come up on the lifts in the past hour. Then the lifts stopped. I tried to dial down, but it wasn't working. I tried to restart the lift automatically, and it wasn't working. Then the wind started to pick up, and it was rattling the windows. That's when I saw it. This form walking up the hill by one of the floodlights. I tried my hand radio to see if someone was coming up to relieve me or something, but oddly, it wasn't working. I really freaked out. I got really paranoid and started gathering evidence and shit to prove that weird stuff was going on. I took a picture of the volume, power, and channel knobs off the radio, took a video of me restarting shot, and snapped pictures of the figure walking up, which just looked like a shadow, thanks to the mini blizzard and shitty camera. Then the shadow got to the end of the floodlight path. The 3 ones after it were out. I lost sight of it for 7 minutes, during which I got a single message. Hey, do you see that person walking up the hill? I did, but I can't see them anymore. What's wrong with the lift? I got no answer after that. Then the shadow hits the 3rd last light from the top shack. This one is very small, and only about 70 feet from the shack. I could barely see the person, but they certainly didn't work here, and they weren't wearing any ski gear. Then, like God himself commanded it, the snow stopped. Just stopped instantly. The wind and snow and everything. The figure is just out of the light's path for less than 30 seconds when the power starts up. When the rest of the lights come on, there is no one in sight. There's a path that goes into the woods heading up to the shack, and then the wind and snow started again. I was freaking out. I grabbed my utility knife and clutched it tight. Then I saw another figure, but this time on the lift. It was my manager. I was out of there. On my way back down, I saw the path diverge back into the hill, right after it hit the woods. When we were just past the halfway mark, I saw him again. My manager looks at me, and I guess my fear was insanely obvious as he asked me what's wrong. I looked back down at where I had just seen the person, and he was staring up at us. His torso was sort of almost bouncing, as if he were laughing. Either that or he was crying or coughing. My manager just looks at me. I could barely make out his white face in the squall. The next day when I show up for work, there are cop cars there, and there are chairs in the snow. The son of the bitch apparently sabotaged the lift and assaulted the night manager that caught him on his way down to the hill. I still see him, in the insane detail my brain gave him, just laughing at me with that twisted smile, this filthy Grinch smile. Number 2. I worked the night shift at my call center. Due to a scheduling glitch, I was by myself in the building from 1 AM to 7 AM, except for security, but they never come to my floor. Anyway, it's Sunday night, it's completely dead on the phones, so I'm browsing YouTube like I always do. Most of the lights of the floor are off, except for the 4 lights that allow me to walk to the washroom if needed. I hear a door open, There are 2 doors to enter the floor. One really needs to be oiled. So I instantly perk up and sat there quietly. I peeked around and didn't see anything. I just heard walking. I heard the door squeak again, then waited around 10 minutes and slowly walked to the elevator and went down. I saw the security guard thrashing his mouse and keyboard playing RuneScape and asked him if he was on my floor. He said no. I asked if the janitors were there, and he said no. Just me and him. So I freaked and made him come upstairs. He checked. Nothing. Security cameras don't record. They're only used to catch us eating at our desks or on cell phones. So that didn't help. So he told me I was being stupid and left. A few days later, same thing. Sitting there on YouTube, minding my own business, fixing the issues like a boss. Then, I hear the same door open again. This time I hear someone walking in, and they turn the corner and walk towards my lighted area. I looked, and I saw a tall old guy with a hook for a hand, smiling and walking towards me. I immediately ran out of there, down 10 flights of steps and into the security guard downstairs. I told him. It took him a minute, but then he laughed. And he was like, "Oh, that's the new guy who's working nights. I'm moving to a different location in a week." I calmed down, and Captain Hook came down and we all laughed. And I asked him why he didn't round the corner last night and introduce himself. He just started today. All that flooding into my head, trying to figure out where the hell the other guy came from. I asked my managers when they came in the morning after. They confirmed he just started. I still don't know who creeped into my floor, walking into the dark and then noped out of there. But I no longer work nights alone. I used to work at a homeless shelter on a night shift. I saw a lot of odd things happening during those years. But by far the strangest thing was the night I thought I was witnessing the beginning of the zombie apocalypse. Ned, a 35-year-old alcoholic, got up to have a smoke. I let him out of the courtyard and went to do some chores. This was about midnight. So about 10 minutes later, I go look outside and Ned is gone. This isn't weird. As noted, Ned is an alcoholic, and it was still bar time. I sit at my desk and started doing paperwork, when I hear a rustling outside. I look up and I see Ned in the window with blood on his face. I open the door and ask him what happened, and that is when he growled at me and ran forward with his arms out. So I slammed the door and backed away. Ned fumbles with the knob and growls at me some more. Another guy at the shelter comes by the office and sees this and backs away. Ned then stopped trying to get back in and began running around the yard growling and trying to climb a fence. I called 911 because I didn't know what the hell was happening. The dispatcher is so confused by my description that she says that she's going to send police over to talk to me. The cops show up, and Ned runs at them growling and snarling. He hurls himself over the fence to do this. One cop pulls his gun, whilst the other pulls a taser, but neither fire. I'm watching from the window with the other client. Ned's blood is all over the window, with spit and mucus. The cops are yelling at Ned, who all of a sudden gets up, walks towards my door, grabs the cigarette butt and lights up. The cops approach him with their weapons still out. He looks at them, smiles and says, "I didn't do it, man." Turns out Ned has a seizure disorder that causes him to run around rather than fall over and shake. But to me, dude went full-on zombie. Number 4. I used to work at a machine shop. I was a hydraulic chrome plate tech, which was at the front of the shop. Right before I started night shift, I got an earful from the second shift guys. I asked about the shop and if it was haunted. Now this guy was known for being a big bullshitter, but he told me that he and the other machinists who have worked there forever have seen some weird things. Now this place was a big building, I'm talking 50 yards wide and maybe 200 yards long. Big building. Anyway, he went on to tell me that 3 workers had died in the building. And not just some quick deaths. I'm talking nasty, oh my god, what the hell kind of deaths. One of the guys died near where I was working. He was doing some electrical work on one of the old cranes we used to lift heavy stuff. Well, apparently, he ended up electrocuting himself and fell a good bit to the ground. Another guy was lifting the sheet of steel, and he was underneath when it broke loose, slicing the guy in half, but it didn't kill him. Apparently, he was still talking to everyone before they took the sheet off him. Back then, no one knew anything about leaving the sheet in, because they pulled it out and the guy bled out almost instantly. And the third guy, I'm not even going to get into detail about. Anyway, they would talk about going to work and weird things happening. We would only have maybe 5 people working each night, and we were all kind of up front, but you would have to make a pretty long walk to get steel stock for your job. But they would talk about walking down that long stretch and hearing things behind the steel racks. They would all be doing something, and would all hear what sounded like a rack just fell over, only to find nothing happened. Others would see shadows in the back. I don't know, I've never felt right at night working there, and you would hear shit. But I was never sure if it were people working or something else. Honestly, I was more afraid of my crazy co-worker. I always watched him from the corner of my eye, whenever he was within 10 feet of me. Number 5. I used to work as a bus driver, and we had this one stop that we had to wait for 10 minutes to until we could start our next run. So, there were never any passengers on the bus, just me. The problem is, this stop was in the grounds of an old abandoned hospital called Sunnyside, which was creepy as hell at night. It was one of those old Victorian-style hospitals, so it was right out of the worst horror film. So anyway, one night feeling brave, I decided to have a wander round and look in some windows. The first window, I looked in and it was an empty room. Some rubbish on the floor, but nothing major. I went to the next window, and the room had a lot of medical apparatus in it, including a bed with straps attached. It freaked me out a bit, until I looked up, and could have sworn someone was standing at the door of the room staring at me. He had what looked like dark green scrubs on, and moccasin-style shoes. I ducked my head back down, shitting myself. After about a minute of composure, I plucked up the courage to look again, and there was no one there. The creepiest part of it, though, was that the hospital still had power, and after seeing him, a corridor a little bit further down lit up, but not all at once. I can only think it had the light fittings with motion sensors, because one by one, the lights switched themselves on, then switched themselves off again, as if someone were walking down the corridor. I knocked right out of there as fast as I could. Bear in mind this was 11 PM, and it was confirmed to me later by an ex-employee that there were no security guards assigned to the hospital, because it had been cleared out. Still creeps me out to this day thinking about it. Hey guys, it's Mort here, and thank you so much for listening. Just to let you know, I'm going away tomorrow, but whoa now, don't think there won't be uploads, because there certainly will be. I've just worked extra hard to make sure you have a daily video. But please keep in mind that I won't be able to reply to comments all that much. But please, don't forget to comment on the video regardless, otherwise the YouTube algorithm will mess me up. But I will be dutifully replying to your comments the moment I'm back. But on the bright side, you have merch now. Please go check it out. Get an exclusive and limited edition Mortis Media t-shirt just for you, or a friend, or anyone really. Great for any occasion. Send me your pics with you wearing them, and I will feature you and shout you out on Instagram, Twitter, and probably put it in a video to show it off, if that's okay with you, of course. Remember that if you enjoyed today's video, please consider dropping a like and leaving a comment. It's a really great way to help support the channel, and I really appreciate it. And if you'd like to do something incredible to help support the channel further, feel free to visit my Patreon. You can find the link in the description, as well as the links to my social media. And if you'd like your story read on my channel, you can submit it as a text post to my Reddit or send it to me via email. Both links can be found in the description. But anyway, for now guys, I'm going to sign off. Stay awesome, and I'll see you in the next one.